Hello and welcome to this special Urban and Community IPM webinar. I am Yulia Velez, a Community Education Specialist with UC IPM. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to have Carrie Winbill Rojas presenting today on the recent changes to the UC IPM website. Carrie is the Associate Director for Urban and Community IPM with UC IPM and an Urban IPM Advisor for Yolo, Solano, and Sacramento counties. As Associate Director, Carrie provides leadership and coordinates communication and educational efforts to address urban pest issues around homes, structures, landscapes, gardens, schools, and public areas. Thank you for joining us, Carrie. You may now share your slides and begin.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm going to share. Yeah, thank you for joining us today, everybody. And I'm excited to share many of the new and what is coming resources on the UCIPM website. So what I thought I'd do today is just go through the website live. Instead of having a PowerPoint with screenshots, I'm just going to show you the way our website is now. And um, if you are familiar with our previous website and the design and colors, I'm sure when you landed on some of our new pages, you're like, what is happening? So we have really um, been making a lot of changes on the UCIPM website, and we're not finished yet. Um, we have a ton of information on the UCIPM website, both for agricultural audiences here, for all of our non-ag audiences, for those who manage pests in natural areas. And then we have a section on pesticide safety training. If we were to count the number of pages we have, it's something like 14,000 pages that we manage and the content. So if you have seen, as we've rolled out these new design pages, that some pages don't look in the new design and some do, we couldn't just move everything all at once. And that's the reason we've got, lots of different things that you're going to see today, and why we're doing this webinar. So the webinar that we decided to do today was because a few people had asked us if we would do some training, and I'm going to shout out Jane Payne in Riverside County, because we have had several requests to do a training like this, and I thought, let's just open up and do a webinar for everyone who's interested. And so thank you, Jane, for that. So let's just go through our page here, and I'm going to cover as much as we have time for today. And this webinar will be recorded, so if I go too fast or you get a little lost, you can watch it again once we get it up on YouTube. I will say that it will be on YouTube just for a short amount of time, because we are continuing to make changes to our website, so it will go out of date once we get some of the pages that have not been moved over yet. To back up a second, one of the reasons why we made these changes is because there are new standards in website design. There's more that we know about how people navigate through a website. A lot of people do browser searches to get straight to the content without navigating through the website like we used to have the design. So our designers and our information technology team have really done a lot of research into the best way to present information, both visually and also that makes sense, to reduce having to click through many, many, many times to get to what you're looking for. So without explaining more of that, there are many reasons why the designs look the way they do. And some people may love them and some people may not. Change can be difficult, but we are excited to show you and have these new elements on our website. All right, so right now I'm on the home page, and our URL has not changed. It's still ipm.ucanr.edu. That's our main home page or landing page. And one of the things that you see here is you can just type in what your pest problem is and then search it. You can also use the search that's in the right-hand corner right there. And you can just search our website for a pest that will only look at our website. You can do a larger browser search, which will possibly take you to other people's websites. But if you know you're trying to find information in California, you can go here. And for those who know our website well, this search function works so much better than it used to back in the day. So scrolling down our homepage, and I'm going to leave the homepage here in a bit, but as I mentioned, we have a whole section on agriculture. So if you are a producer of an agricultural commodity, not backyard garden, but a commercial venture, agriculture and the pests information that's in that section is where you would want to go. I'm assuming everyone who's joined us today is looking for home and landscape. So this is where I'm going to focus our attention because that is our urban and community team. These are our pages. And then natural areas is really, parks and wildlands and areas where you may have pests outside of agriculture, outside of the home and garden and landscape. And then pesticide safety. This is not everything related to pesticides on our website. This is really our pesticide safety education program, and it has more to do with pesticide safety training than all things pesticides. I'm going to show you where you can find the pesticide information in the home and landscape area. But to quickly go through other elements on our homepage, this is our section where you can see what's new, obviously. And we have them headed by what sector they're in, home and landscape, agriculture, etc. We add to this all the time. As you can see, we published just a couple weeks ago a new edition of our Home and Garden Pest newsletter. And this is where our pest notes get announced and any new things. If you want to see what has been added, updated, you can go to See All Announcements, and we have them by year. And so it's just a big, long running list of what has happened and on our website in each year that it is. So right now we don't have a way to sort by agriculture or home and landscape. So you just kind of have to keep tabs. But the one of the best ways to know what's new from the urban and community sector for home and landscape is to subscribe to our social media, because that's where we announce just what we have done, either blog or social media. All right, so that's the where you find new stuff. We have a whole section on events and training, and this events and training is for all of our sectors, ag, urban, and natural areas, and pesticide safety. And we've got these color coded. The green is home and landscape, orange is agriculture, anything that's general is kind of this blue, and it also has the heading. And these, if you refresh the page, these move. So I'm going to go up here and use this little refresh, and you'll see different ones. So these pull from some of our events in the database, and we try to keep it fresh. These webinars that we hold, these monthly webinars, will probably always remain here, at least two, but you'll see that some of these on-demand trainings will change as we refresh the page. Yeah, so, and I'm going to show you when we get to the home and landscape page where you can just see the home and landscape. But here right now, you see these four in green, that's home and landscape. And then we have the page on online training and events, and I'll show you that when we get over to the home and landscape page. We do sometimes update this area monthly spotlights with maybe new things or tools we want to feature. So we have a new decision support tool for agriculture called Pest Manage, which I'm not going to talk about today. And then we have our bee precaution pesticide rating, which I will talk about in the context of some of our other resources. And then the rest of this is just what is IPM and what do we do and what's our impact. So this homepage is really just showcasing a few things, but where you're going to find the content is in this section. So let's jump over to home and landscape. And if you haven't been to this page yet, this is a huge change from the way our home and landscape landing page used to be. All the elements are still here for the most part. We are still working on stuff that if you can't find it, we know we are working on it. But I do want to show you how you can find things on this page a lot easier. And the way to do that is by using this on this page bar at the top. And this is going to be your friend here. So these will jump you down to different areas on the page. And they're all connected to the little subheaders. So pest information, that's that section. Publications, and I'm going to go through these, that section. Pesticides, exploring tools, resources, etc. So going back up to the top, pest information. These have always been towards the top of our page in the older design. So we had pests that bite, sting, and injure. We had finding your pest by the host plant and finding your pest by the type of pest it is. These elements haven't changed, just the design. So when you go to one of these pages now, and we'll go to each one of these so I can show you the difference, we have this new design that takes you to a list of the pests in that section. And again, these were there before, but we've got them shown in a different way. Eventually, we will have little pictures, little circle pictures that accompany these, but we are working on so many different higher important elements that some of the pretty elements are not there yet. But regardless, these will take you to I'll just pick one. These will take you to the resource that goes along with that. And all of the resources from the pest that bite, sting, and injure take you to pest notes. And I'm assuming that anyone joining us today knows what our pest notes are. But in case you don't, they are our peer reviewed, science based fact sheets that tell you lots of everything about a pest. And the pest notes have been redesigned, as you can see, where we have a banner image now that helps you quickly identify. And ants is very general, so that's maybe not the best example. But what is also different on this page is the on this page section where you can jump down to different sections. Again, all of these elements were already there in the previous design of the pest notes, but now we've made it easier to jump down to the sections that you are looking for. We know that pictures are very important on our pest notes, so we have made sure that we retain the pictures. They used to be on the side, and now we've put them in line in the text, or we have them linked from various places in the pest notes. So you can still click on many of the pictures to take you to the larger version. And if you are a master gardener and you work on the helpline and you would share pictures with people by sending the URL, you can still do that. And you can still send the URL. We've redesigned our photo library on sort of the back end too. So you'll now see that the caption is at the top instead of at the bottom. And we have a lot of great new pictures in our database as well. So yeah, and then some pictures or other features link from within the body, and that's not really anything new. Um, so I'm going to probably leave this page now and go to back to the home page. I'll come back to pest notes in a little bit. And you can link, you can go back using your back button, or you can go link to the home and landscape landing page up at the top there, those little breadcrumbs as they're called. So that was this first section. And again, I'll get back on pest notes in a little bit. But here is where you're going to find your pest by your host plant, by your plant type. And if we go to flowers, that takes us to the top of the page. All of the different host plants, they're all on the same page, but they're in different sections like this. So I guess they're maybe not on the same page. Sorry. My mistake. So anyway, going to the flowers, and again, these will have pictures of the flowers once we get that the aesthetic element added. But the important part is the host plant is here. So if you go to the host plant, you go to a page that again, this is how we had the information before. We have a little bit about the plant identification. We have the species and family name of that plant up here, optimum conditions for growth. And then we have the pests of this host plant listed. We will be adding vertebrate pests on here. Uh, it was having to be a phase two of these pages, but we will soon be adding them. But any of these links will take you to the content page. Now we have pest notes and then we have other content pages. And these other content pages are just shorter pages. So you'll see that we don't call them pest notes up here. If we go to one of these that is a pest notes, which again is a peer-reviewed publication as part of a series, it says pest notes, either up here or here. But the design of the pages, you don't really know the difference, right? The contents there, they all still have on this page um, pictures that are in line, and they still have identification, um, either life cycle or damage and solutions. And then these pictures will help you identify. And some of these pages have a lot of pictures, some don't have too many. Um, some go to pages like this one goes to the natural enemies gallery, which I will talk about momentarily. And some go to uh, a picture, or some might go to another page with more information. So again, all of these elements were there before. We've just made improvements. If it's not a pest notes, it doesn't have the ability to bring it up in a formatted PDF. And you'll see that there's no PDF icon up here. If I go back to a pest notes, and that's the aphids here, you'll see this little PDF icon. Um, I kind of wish it was a little bit bigger or more apparent. So that might be something we work on. But if you go to the PDF, here's the PDF. This is an old design. I'll go to another one later that's in our newer design, but these are just the same as you may have always remembered them. And then here, the social media icons, these will allow you to share this page on Facebook, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and those are for sharing. All right, so just like I showed you with ants, the pest notes are laid out in this way that you can jump down to all those resources on the page. Since we are here on this pest notes, I'm going to also talk about something else that has changed is our quick tips. The short versions of the pest notes have been added to the top of our pest notes. So the quick tip cards that are in the print format, I'll bring one up, that Master Gardeners may distribute, Cooperative Extension distribute. Those can be found linked here, and I'll show you where you can also find the PDF for all of those. But the quick tip is now at the top of the associated pest notes to give readers a sort of a summary of that pest. If it's a pest notes that does not have a quick tip associated, it has a shorter version called in brief, and I'll go to one of those shortly. To reduce the quick tips on a page, you go back up to the refresh little icon here at the top, and you click that, and it'll reduce down. If you leave the page and come back to it, it does the same thing. But again, we've got our sections. We have our pest notes introduction, the identification, life cycle, damage, and then under management, where we have all the same elements of our management, the cultural controls, physical controls, biological control. This one has a lot of links to pictures or other pages just like I showed you in the last page, maybe it goes to the natural enemies gallery, maybe it goes to other pest notes or other pages. One thing that we have changed in the design of our pest notes is under chemical control. When we mention a pesticide for the first time, we have a link that goes to our pesticide active ingredient database. So if I go to insecticidal soaps, this will take you to the associated page in our pesticide active ingredient database, which we updated a couple years ago, adding a different design, the same hazard elements. We added a whole bunch at the top about that active ingredient and move some things around. So I'll go back to that in a little bit as well. So these now link a little easier so you can find out more about a pesticide if you are helping somebody to choose a pesticide or you are looking for one yourself to give you more information. Um, and we added to all of our content pages this kind of disclaimer here. There's a lot of changes in pesticide availability, pesticide regulation, and it's so much that we can't always keep our pages up to date. So we've added this little disclaimer that says some of this information may become out of date as things change. We are doing our best to keep our resources updated, but we have 7,000 pages in the home and landscape section and only a few staff to actually keep it updated. And as I said, our information is peer reviewed and it's written by authors. And so we have to work with the authors to get the information updated. So we don't just go in there when something is changed and change it ourselves. We have to go through lots of channels to do that. Anyway, so that was management. And then the references have always been in the pest notes, the resources, and then not new, but we've made a little bit more intention with the publication information that we list the authors. And on our newer pest notes, we also list the technical editors, which is usually myself, the editor, which is Belinda Messenger Sykes, and our associate editor who handles the peer review, which is Andrew Sutherland. And then we usually link to that person's profile in the A&R catalog, if you will. I do want to point out, though, under resources, a really important way to compare the pesticides that are included in the pest notes. For those who may not know that, we have it hidden here under resources, but it's an important element. You can compare the hazards of different pesticide active ingredients that are mentioned in this publication, in this pest notes. So if you click on the compare risks, this gathers all the pesticides that are mentioned in the aphids or whatever the pest notes, and it puts all their hazards into one table for the user to make a decision based on the potential hazards. And so each one of these pesticide active ingredients in the database has its own hazard page, right? But when you are looking at all of your possibilities together, this is where a user can say, okay, here's the active ingredient. Um, how hazardous is it to aquatic wildlife? How hazardous is it to the good bugs, the natural enemies, predators and parasites? How hazardous is it to honeybees? And acute toxicity to people, that immediate toxicity or chronic toxicity. And what chronic toxicity, where we get this information is pesticide active ingredients that are listed on the US Environmental Protection Agency carcinogenic list or the California Prop 65 list. And then these links will take you over to those lists so you can read more. What our active ingredient pages also have is an explanation of what all of these mean. So the hazard ratings, what does LH mean? That's low to high. That means there's a range. M is moderate. If there is no data, it's a dash. If there is no known risk. That doesn't mean known data. That means there's no risk that we know of, but we do know something. Then it's NKR, et cetera. And then the uh, honeybee hazards are from our bee precaution database. And we can go there so I can show you, but it explains here what these different colors and uh, numbered alerts mean. And then we have a whole section on pesticide safety precaution, and then our footnotes that tell you where we got all of this information from. We didn't just make it up, we do a lot of research to make sure that our information is accurate. And if someone ever does find an error, they can let us know and we can look into if there has been an error or something has changed. Sometimes active ingredients go on the EPA and Prop 65 list. Sometimes they come off. And when that happens, because this is not automatic, we have to go in and make the change. So uh, that's how you can find and compare and make a decision or help somebody make a decision if they were saying, oh, well, I don't want something that's toxic to honeybees and I don't want something that's toxic to myself. So maybe they look at this and say, well, potassium salts and fatty acids, those insecticidal soaps, they um, may not have risk, even though we don't have data. It looks like low to moderate toxicity to natural enemies, low toxicity to honeybees, moderate toxicity, acute toxicity to people. So maybe I'm going to wear my gloves and my goggles and my PPE. Then that can help you make a decision. So that's all contained at the end of pest notes in the compare risk from pesticide mentioned. And I also want to point out warning on the use of pesticides. If you are talking to folks about using pesticides, we have this newly designed page. Again, this has always been there, that discusses consulting pesticide labels and what's on a pesticide label. We have this new resource called Reading a Pesticide Label. That is actually a quick tip, and you can find the PDF right here. But we also have the good resource called Urban Urban Pesticides, Fertilizers, and Water Quality. And this page goes into runoff from our landscapes and how it can carry pesticides and fertilizers into our waterways that can cause damage to the environment and aquatic wildlife. Explains a little bit about toxicity and signal words, and then links to other resources. So that page is warning on the use of pesticides. It's at the bottom of every pest notes, and maybe eventually we'll have it at the bottom of our other pages too. But and then all the references. So the pest notes contain a lot of information, but again, we've only redesigned them. All of this has always been there, just maybe in a different way. So I am going to, instead of going back, I'm going to go up to the top and go back to the home and landscape page. And I do realize I might be going fast for folks. I want to show you as much as possible, and we only have an hour to do it. Again, you can watch the recording on YouTube. Okay, so that was only at the flowers. We have fruit trees, lawns and turf, trees and shrubs, vegetables and melons. So again, you can go to any of these and click on the plant and find the plant description, cultural tips for some, and the pest and disorders, just like I showed you on flowers. For the fruit trees and the vegetables, we do have a cultural practices page that I want to point out. This has been there on some pages and not others, but it used to be like 8 different pages. We've consolidated all of that information onto one page, where you can also jump down to this page and look at how to select your site when you're planting and soil recommendation improvement, the time to plant, planting. All of this again is California based, and all of this is from other vegetable resources within the University of California. Some of them are older publications and may use updating, but we did check on all of these resources when we updated this page. And then we do point people to their local UC Master Gardener program to find out the best planting dates for their region. This is a very general thing. And, in California, we have a lot of um, topography and climates that could influence when you plant something. So we always try and point people to their local resources. So that's cultural practices. And again, uh, different pests and disorders, environmental disorders that are specific to whichever crop this is, and weeds, which just takes you to a page on uh, weeds in vegetable crops. And then you can go to other resources from here. And we will be adding vertebrates on our long list of things to do. I do want to point out so that was vegetables and melons, flowers, trees and fruit, lawns and turf are all designed in the same way. But when you go to trees and shrubs, this list looks a little different because we have a very long list here. So the trees and shrubs list can be sorted. You can sort it. The default is to sort it by the common name of the plant, but you can sort it by the scientific name or by the family. And so if you're looking for a certain thing and you know that it's in the um, Ericaceae family, then you can sort it in that way. You will also notice some of the same um, genus of a plant may have different common names. So we will list the different common names, but you might end up being on the same page. So this one in particular, the I don't even know how to say it, Araucaria, all four of these, because they have different common names, will take you to the same page. And then here you can see the common names of that plant. And again, these pages are designed the same way as all of our other pages that we just looked at. But that's a different feature of the trees and shrubs page, that you can sort by the common, scientific, or family names. All right, that was this section. Now I want to go to browse by pest type. Here we've got all the insects, mites, mollusks, all the invertebrates in one list. We have birds, mammals, reptiles, all the vertebrate pests in one list, plant diseases, and weeds. If we go first to weeds, this is a list that looks like some of the other pages that you just saw. So you can start to see how our design is. We're trying to be standard with it. Again, we're going to have little circle pictures on this page eventually, but these will take you to usually pest notes, or actually all of these are pest notes. So this will take you to the Bermuda grass pest notes. You can see when it was last updated. Here's the link to the PDF. And this is our newer pest notes design. I showed you aphids a moment ago. That's an older design. So when we update that, we will convert it to our new design. And these are the print-friendly formats that you can download and print or give out or what have you. We've made some changes to the Pest Notes PDF over the years based on comments that we've gotten largely from master gardeners, where we put the title and the publication number at the top. We have a QR code so that maybe you don't want to take paper out. Somebody can scan that QR code and go to the website on their phone or tablet. We have moved the authors from the very back page to the front page to give them better credit. And all the other elements are pretty standard, where we have pictures and formatting. Our PDFs comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act standards, so they are ADA accessible. And another element of our new website design is to make sure that it's also accessible for those with disabilities. So it's a huge component of the redesign, but one of the elements that we have been trying to tackle in the redesign. So here again is the structure on this page, the pest notes introduction, identification management, all those things that I just showed you. The difference between this Bermuda grass one and the aphids that I showed you is we do not have a quick tips for Bermuda grass. So instead of having the quick tips at the top, all of our pest notes that don't have an associated quick tip has this in brief, where it's 4 to 5 bullets that gives a quick, this is what it is, this is what it does. Bermuda grass is terrible and it's hard to control. That's just my personal opinion. But so that element is there. Okay, so that was the vertebrates, and you can see here's the link. We can go to, oh, sorry, that wasn't vertebrates, that was weeds. Uh, vertebrates is the same way. We've got a list like this, and you can go to any one of these. And again, our new design, we don't have a quick tip for skunks, so we have the in brief and all those other elements. So I want to go now to the insects, mites, and mollusks and the plant diseases. These lists are quite long. So these are also in that sortable format where for plant diseases, you can sort by the plant host or the crop host because many plant diseases are only associated with a certain host. They don't just, you know, attack and infect everything. So you can sort, and it looks like that is the default is by the host. You can sort by the common name. You can sort by the scientific name if you know it. If you do know the scientific name of plant diseases, I want you to come work for us. And you can also sort by the type, whether it's a bacteria, a fungus, an oomycete, or other things. And then these will take you to the page. And here you can see we've landed on an old page. This is our old design in the UC Guide to Healthy Lawns. And we are in the process of redesigning this page so it has the same sort of design elements and it doesn't have this funky space in the middle. But there's a lot here, so I'm not going to go to all the links. I want to continue on with showing you things. The insects, mites, and mollusks, same thing. You can sort by the common name of the insect, by the scientific name, the family, or the order. We don't have this one sorted by the crop or the host because sometimes it's not applicable, or sometimes, you can have ants on just about everything, right? So to sort by host wouldn't be useful or easy. Yeah, so if you know what pest you have, you can go there. So I want to go down to the publications section now. All of our pest notes and our quick tips, we have a library page for them and a other landing page for them. So this is where you can find all the pest notes for those who want to look at them this way. They are currently sorted by the pest type, and then within that pest type, they are alphabetical. You cannot sort these lists to find out when it was published by, or the PDF is also alphabetical, and we're not going to make these sortable in that way. But you go here. So if you're just looking for the PDF of something, you can find it here. And that is sometimes an easier way for folks to get the PDF. But then all of these go to the online page, the HTML page. So you can jump down to this page to find the different sections that you need. I do want to go back to the publications page. Here are the quick tips. So all the quick tips are currently here. This is the English quick tips page. Right now, we don't have a link to go to the Spanish page from this page, but we're working on that. But right now, you can find all the PDFs for the quick tips and the sustainable gardening practices and the dates that they're published. And again, these are formatted for printing, and we make them available as card sets for the master gardeners in the cooperative extension offices. And so on this publication section on our home and landscape page, pest notes, quick tips, and here's the Spanish version of the quick tips. So you can see that we are working on adding the English title back to accompany these for ease for those who don't speak Spanish to find the one that you're looking for. But everything else on this page is in Spanish. Then we've got our two newsletters that are listed here under publications, the Green Bulletin, the Home and Garden Pest Newsletter. I'm not going to go into those, but those pages exist. We have pulled together, we had several different pages for publications, books, and guides, and we've pulled them all together into one page. So now this is a big long list of all of our offerings, whether it's home and landscape, agriculture, pesticide safety. They're all on one page now and not divvied up to other pages. And then you can link to the resource. Uh, Pest notes and quick tips are listed here, but also some of the books that you might know. And we'll be updating pages like this that are clearly in the old design too. And then a link to our blog, our longstanding blog that we've had for 12 years or so. Here's pesticides and alternatives. These pages are under construction. So we had a deadline in April for getting everything over to the ADA accessibility. And they extended that deadline. When you go to some of these pages, they were kind of taken offline. Now they're back online, but they live in an archive space. So if you land on a page that looks like this and none of the links work, we are updating this page to be in our new design with links that work. So please be patient as we work on that. Right now, all of the pages under this section go to pages that don't have usable links. But I can show you where you could still find some of this. And that is up at the top of the page, Manage Pests. If you were looking for the natural enemies gallery, the biological control, at the top of the page here, Manage Pests, you bring down this list and you can find links to some of the things that may be missing from this organization, but soon we'll be adding it. So the natural enemies gallery, this page is being redesigned too. If you see this blue header across the top on a page or the gold bar, that's an old page and it will soon be redesigned. But the natural enemies individual pages themselves are in a new design, newer design. So these have been done. It's the landing page of the natural enemies that is really close to being published. I'd say we're a couple weeks away from that being final. And it'll still have all the same elements, just a different design. All right, so look here in the Manage Pests section if there's something you can't find from our homepage. But going back to where I was, pesticides and alternatives, under that are the Explore tools. So we have the plant problem diagnostic tool, our seasonal landscape checklist, wildlife pest, and here's where you can find the link to the pesticide active ingredients database that I showed you from the pest notes, where you can go to one of these pages and find for that active ingredient the potential hazards, the B ratings, the safety precautions, etc. We also list the pest notes that mention that active ingredient so that you can know when it might be used. Also on the individual active ingredient pages are example products that you might be familiar with, not because we're trying to endorse the products, just because we're trying to make sure folks know, oh, that's the active ingredient in this product that I use. We do not have a product search feature on our website. That's not something we're going to do. It's not really our purview. But anyway, that's pesticide active ingredient database. If I had more time, I'd share more things about it. But a very popular feature on our website is the plant problem diagnostic tool. Probably most people have been on it. It gets tens of thousands of hits a month. And I'm not going to go through the navigation of this either, but I do want to say we will be redesigning the plant problem diagnostic tool. It's a huge endeavor, and we will probably need to take it down at some point next year when our new deadline for the ADA accessibility hits again, which I believe is also April of 2027. And we are going to be working on redesigning it. But hopefully folks can use the other features on our website, like this pest information, to go to their whichever host plant they have and find their pests that way. But for now, enjoy the plant problem diagnostic tool. And when we redo it, it'll be better and greater. But yeah, it's one of those ones that is just a huge undertaking, and we will have to take it down for some time. We do have a section on resources for specific audiences. So if you find yourself in one of these categories, we have uh, cultivated some of the links on our website to make it a little easier for you to find things. Some of these have resources specifically for that audience type that you may not find in other places on our website. So go there and have a look. If some of the links are old or broken, we do know, and we are soon going to be fixing them. Most everything works, but there may be some weird things. And then here's the events and training that I mentioned. The events and training on our home and landscape page is just home, garden, landscape, and turf. So when you're on the main UCIPM homepage that mixes in agriculture and pesticide safety, this is just ours. So here you can see our webinars for the rest of the year are listed here, and then some of these on-demand online courses. So if you want to see other events, this link here, events, will take you to our events page where you can see everything we have, or you can see our online trainings. And again, this is everything. So this is online training for pest management professionals. We have some for retail nurseries and garden centers. We have some specifically for master gardeners, and we have some in Spanish. So you can browse through here. Right now, our online courses are housed in e-extension. Those may be moving. I don't know when, but right now, this is what we have. And some of these you have to pay for if you want a certificate of completion. Some are free. Most all of these are for free on YouTube to watch, but you wouldn't get a certificate of completion if you have a pesticide applicator license. But you can still access them. And then about us. And so that's how you navigate the home and landscape pages. Um, there's a lot of changes in here, and more to come.